All right. So, okay. Okay. Ma-read lagi akong hard drive. Okay, okay. Where is the hard drive? Hindi siya ma-read. So, ganinang buntag, you had a class with Sir Aris for ISO 9000. It's actually under food safety and special topics. So, almost done na gyud, and you can make now your paper. And after that, if you pass all the exams and your paper is also passing, you'll now have a degree. So, hopefully you can join the ano no, you can join the graduation on murag di nakaabot sa January kay you have to start you make the paper. But if you can finish the paper in December, why not? Why not coconut? So, all right, this is lean manufacturing side. So let me present that one. Can you see the slide, everyone? Okay. So basically, let's understand first what lean manufacturing is, because lean manufacturing are the tools we're gonna discuss in the first two sessions before we go to Six Sigma. So we will be discussing today the 4 topics: 5S, Kanban, Hijunka, and JIT. And tomorrow will be the other topics, the other important topics that you might already seen in your offices, in your day-to-day operations, but you just don't know really the purpose of such tools, no? And are actually part industrial engineering concepts and made by IEs. So you will see later some examples, but I believe so that you have more experience in looking at these types of tools than me. So lean manufacturing is basically a systematic approach to identifying and eliminating non-value added activities through continuous improvement by flowing the product at the pull of the customer in pursuit of perfection. So actually lean manufacturing started around 2000s, because the before the time of all right, maklaro, am I audible, guys? Audible ra? You can hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So because before the time of industry 4.0, that time industry 2.0, 3.0, actually manufacturing was the edge. So assembly, and then to manufacturing, and then to improvement of big data analytics, which is the 4.0. But before big data analytics and all that, the goal was really to increase profit without looking at the cost we actually make every time we do the products. So before, the main concern is just to increase the profit by increasing also the cost of the product or price, no? And then without looking into the activities, no, that the people are doing in the business that makes it really expensive, because you're not looking at the waste we are spending when it comes to lean, in terms of our manufacturing style. That's why lean came to life, by making sure that non-value added activities are pulled out, are eliminated if possible, no? So we identify, we eliminate non-value adding activities, or we call them waste in in Japanese word, it's MUDA, through a continuous improvement. So, of course, meaning through Kaizen. We're always gearing towards improving every day by flowing the product at the pull of the customer in pursuit of perfection. So, meaning to say, by the time that the customer requests for that item, it should be always available at the time it is needed. Okay? So this is the history timeline for lean manufacturing. As mentioned, in 1850s by Ellie Whitney, we have interchangeable parts. So to be able to really do postponement or customization, they just create interchangeable parts so that if there is one part that will be how do you say this one that will be damaged, you don't have to change the entire machine, no, it will just be interchanged. All right, I think that was mentioned on your method study um, remediation class. And then during the American Civil War, actually most of the tools actually happened during the Civil War. It's through the drawing conventions or tolerances. Then we have the modern machine tool development, and this were introduced by Frederick Taylor. So Frederick Taylor was called the father of IE or industrial engineering. So it was really Frederick W. Taylor who was coined as the father of industrial engineering. So he standardized work, he created time and motion study and work standards, and then he also had this dichotomy of worker and management. Then, of course, we have uh, i.e. Frank and Lillian Gilbreth. That's why they created Terbligs for process charts and motion study. And then in the Great War in the 19,000s, we had now Henry Ford. So we know that Henry Ford was a mechanical engineer, but actually somehow already more on the industrial engineering process. That's why IE was actually a birth, no? Marsyag ka ng anak. It's like a son or a daughter of mechanical engineering because it was already specific to industry alone. So Henry Ford started that through assembly lines. Okay, assembly lines, and then we have the flow lines and manufacturing strategies. Then we now have W. Edwards Deming, which we met when we discussed quality control. So W. Edwards Deming was the father of quality, and his sidekick was Joseph M. Juran. So the introduction of statistical process control and the total quality management. No, that's around World War II already, mga 1950s. And then of course, the first engineers and owners of Toyota, we have the Toyota Production System creators, Eiji Toyoda and Taiichi Ono. They were able to make the TPS, the JIT, which we'll be talking about today. We have the stockless production and the world-class manufacturing. Actually, stockless production is somehow related to JIT because JIT is basically producing items just in time when customer needs it, and it doesn't have to really stock a lot of items for you to produce that item. Sige lang, we will discuss further what JIT actually means, no? And then the birth of lean manufacturing is already in the 2000s, wherein instead of focusing on standardization, on improving things, why not look at areas first where we are actually losing money through wastage of effort, movement, and unnecessary things, no, that might not be necessary anymore to be done in the process, but because of neglecting those non-value adding activities, it adds up to the cost of to the cost of um, the production. So, what is lean manufacturing as a concept of life? No, this is actually coined by James Womack, Daniel Jones, and Daniel Roos. They call it the machine that changed the world. The story of lean production in Toyota's secret weapon in the global car wars that is now revolutionizing world industry. Before man good, it was really Ford um, that was really number one in terms of car. But when TPS came to life, they were really able to overcome, no, the spot of they really took over the spot of Ford when it comes to industry innovation. So in this book, Walmart introduced the Toyota production system to the American, and they call it lean manufacturing. Okay? So common ways to increase profit is either to increase also the cost or price, or we could decrease the cost in creating the product. And the best one is, of course, to do both. It's either we increase the price and we decrease the cost. Okay? So, in other words, we maximize our profit or we minimize our cost. That's the only way we can improve our profit. Okay? So, these are the 7, actually now 8, MUDA. That's a Japanese word created by Taiichi Ono. He was a Toyota executive who was the most ferocious foe of waste in human history has produced, identified the first 7 types of MUDA in a manufacturing system. So he was also the first industrial engineer in Toyota. So these are the 8 types of waste. So I will give a new acronym for it and for you to understand or remember it better. So let me baro ko sa right. Let me share the other screen. So, feeling na ko nag-work na gid siguro to si Sir. Wala na to siya naka-join. Hopefully, makita no. So, I will summarize it in easier way to remember compared to that one, no? So, I hope you can see. I will add my iPad. Alright. Yes. Hello, but. Sige. So, let me write the notes. Okay. So, the first one is actually very, okay, let's just coin it first. The term here is downtime. So, DOWNTIME. So the first one is obviously the defects. Now, how are the defects called as or coined as a waste or a non-value adding one? Of course, scraps, no? Now, repair, rework. Now, why are they called wastes? Obviously, right? Like you are actually wasting, no, a good, supposed to be good product, but due to okay, so supposed to be it's a good product, you could have earned from it. However, you are not able to really do it well and manage the or manage to control the quality of that product. It led to being a scrap. Obviously, it's a waste. You're not earning from it. No, um, no, you're not earning. Tapos, kuan pag yun, no, kanang you wastes. You actually wasted um, materials, effort, no, of the workers that did that product. So, obvious yan. Okay? No need to further explain actually. Okay? With regards to the defects. Now, how about the other O? Can you give me, what do you think is the next O? What's the next waste? Sige daw, kayo daw. D is the very ano no, obvious one. What could be another type of wastes? It's on charger. Anybody? You can chat it if you don't want to unmute. Okay, here. What do you think? Is the other O? No idea? Ayan. Lobat. No idea? Okay, sige. I'll do it. It's actually overproduction. So if you are producing so much, actually that's a waste, right? Because you're occupying space, you're occupying your warehouse space, you're paying for that space, right? It could have been placed for a new product that might be saleable, but because you did overproduce, then you're wasting the space. What else? Aside from wasting space in an overproduction, you are also it could also lead to pilferage, right? When I say pilferage, mapanuos sa Bisaya. Sa Tagalog, it's like masisira, no? Because of course, there are products that have shelf life. Now, what if the shelf life of the product is not that long? So, basically, overproducing it would lead to a waste of money, right? What else? What do you think are the other reasons why overproduction is considered a waste of money? Why do you think so? Why do you think so, guys? Overproduction is a waste of money. Somehow the reason for
Overproduction.
yes,
Waste
sige
of money
sige.
yung overproduction, ma'am, kasi hindi wala mang turn around
Hmm.
agad. Kasi overproduction nga, hindi mo, pwede mo ibenta pero ang bibili. Wala may mapalit, ma'am.
Yes.
So, overproduction siya, kanang dead money siya, tulog.
Yes, correct. It's a sleeping money, kumbaga, no? Like no one's buying it, but it occupies a space in your area. That's why it's important that, as mentioned, most of the reasons why overproduction takes place is because of improper planning, no, of how many items to order or slash to make. Or it could also be that there is also excess manpower in the business, which is actually due to improper planning gihapon. It all boils down to improper planning. So as much as possible, there should be no overproduction. Now, how about W? What do you think W means?
Waiting.
Correct, Sir Warren, no? Waiting. So ang paghuwat di ay ang pag-antay is actually a waste of time. Why does it become a waste of time? Like for example, you are actually in a fast food chain. So in a fast food chain, sometimes the reason why we choose this fast food chain because it provides us faster way of giving us the food, diba? That's why it's called a fast food chain. But if you will be clustered with two or more fast food chains and the other fast food chain has no line, obviously if they have the same price, of the same taste, usually we choose the lane or the store with the lowest lane as possible, or the shortest rather, shortest line as possible, not lane but line as possible, right? Because we don't want to wait because it's gonna waste our time. That's why gani nga we chose fast food para we can eat right away, no? However, in manufacturing, how does waiting affect or become a defective or waste or non-value adding time? If you wait for the raw materials to come in, right? Because for example, let's say you are process A and then you are waiting for the materials to come in before you produce. Obviously, process B is waiting for you to finish. So if you will not be able to be done at a certain time because you are waiting for the materials to arrive, more likely the rest of the production is affected. That's why waiting is really a waste, no? Even waiting on a stoplight, waiting on your next order, or waiting for the bill to arrive, all of that are wastes. But sometimes in life, waiting is necessary, no? But of course, it's a different aspect. But we talk about business and manufacturing, there should be no waiting. Because if, for example, we're waiting for stocks to arrive from supplier one, then look for another supplier that will provide you faster delivery of supplies. Or if you need to wait for that product because it really takes a season before it is done, you need to plan that replenishment or reordering time, no, so that it will not be so much time that will be lost. Okay, next, last not to say N, because that's actually the newest addition to the family, no, of waste. So let's try T. What's the T? Sir Warren, Ramon, or Junai? What do you think is the other T?
Transportation.
X. Transportation. So even transporting or moving of goods from one place to another is called a waste. Now it's called waste because, for example, let's say like the company I'm studying in my master's degree, actually, they have a lot of plants. The thing is like planta. They have like around 5 plants, and then the transfer of items is actually from one plant to another, and it takes a lot of steps before we move the items to the other plant. And these items are, of course, uh, distributed by batch because these are huge items and they have to really transfer them by a sack. Nakasako gid siya. And then, they do forklifts for it para faster siya, because if you do it manual where people have to really move with the material handling equipment nga manual, it will really take a lot of time. Like the 24 hours in a day is even short, no, for that. So when I was able to discover it, I actually told the IE in their company, which was my classmate, no, that's why I was able to study there. I told him na maybe you can do something in the relay out because there are a lot of ways in the transportation, as you can observe siya. He actually observed the same, no? So there's really a lot of movement, and it even affects the quality of the product when it's moved, no, compared to it's just cultured in one plant and all of the processes are placed in one plant. But there are really processes that cannot be placed in one plant because it might involve, chemicals and fire. So if they will be placed in one area, it's really going to be very hot or not safe. So you have to look into that as well. That's why it's part of the study in layout, no? Obviously, transportation is a waste because you are spending money for transpo, you are wasting money for people to do the transpo alone. What else? You're also wasting money for the waiting time, no? Like it's incorporated with the waiting where you wait for the items to be transported. And sometimes they are delayed in being transported because um no available material for transfer. So there are a lot of reasons, no, why we encounter a lot of um transportation problems that can be improved in our solutions, no, when we become IEs. All right, the other one, which is I. What do you think is the other I? We actually discussed this last time. This is
Inventory.
one of the topics. Correct, Sir Ramon. Inventory. All right, now inventory is actually considered a waste because, as mentioned, no, during our discussion, that the idea should have been no um no company should have had inventory. But of course it's not realistic because you need to store items in your area whenever customer requires that item. However, it's really a waste of time because, again, warehouse space, you pay for the people to do your inventory, no, just like in my previous company, we are really in charge of handling the inventory of that company. And imagine the cost company is actually paying for a third service provider just to manage that part. And most of the reasons why inventory happens is because we want that customer will have many choices and items are always available when they need it. But it's really more on not being able to really push that hard in doing the push marketing. Unlike, di ba, if we do online selling wherein we just buy items whenever a customer requires it, that's JIT, no? But in inventory, it's really like storing items even before they are promised to be bought by customers. That's why it's really important that you make sure that these customers actually um, or these items rather should be tallied well, because it could also be in a way waste if your people that you trust doing the inventory might lose your items in a way na gikawat, or it will be, no, there's theft, as mentioned, no, in our previous discussion, there's theft, there's what else, shrinkage of items, meaning they will be expired, no, because it was not really taken good care of your outsourcing company. So as much as possible, inventory should be kept to a minimum. That's the ideal, but I don't know if it can happen, but it could happen if you will just have to really invest on it, no? So there it is. There's another investment for inventory. It's another waste, no? But yeah, just like for example, Metro Gaisano and SM, they really do have to have inventory. Okay, because you need to let rather customers see that you have existing products for sale. Okay? Okay, what's the other M? What's the other one which is starts at M?
Motion.
Correct. Motion, but more likely the unnecessary ones, no? Because of course we are required to move. Okay? But the unnecessary ones are actually of course, by the word itself, unnecessary. So they should not have been done, no? But of course, we cannot, our workers are not robots. We cannot let them just do the job. They really have to talk to their coworkers just to eliminate the stress, because we're not actually paying robots, diba? We're paying human. So they will always there will always be unnecessary motions like talking, like movement, going to CR, break time and all that, but that's required, no? Because our workers are humans. Now, another way that it is considered a waste or a non-value adding activity is when a worker actually does something that should have been not required anymore because of improper workstation setup. Did you get that part? Like for example, let's say um, you are a you are a vendor of a burger machine, and then usually if you make burgers, what do you require? Of course, the patty, the bun, no, the bread bun, then maybe a ketchup, then cheese or eggs if there is. So those are your ingredients, and then usually the reason why there is an unnecessary motion is if when ketchup is placed very far from the station, the cheese and the egg is placed below, kumbaga in the table, then you have to reach it out pa below or under, and then maybe the buns are placed at the top board, so she has to like move a second just to get that bun, and then the patty is maybe in the refrigerator, one should still get, and then for every time a customer buys, she does all that movements like 1, 2, 3, and then 4, no, move all the sides just to get the ingredients, unless all these ingredients are already placed in the workstation. She eliminates how many seconds? 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds per burger ordered. So if we will be able to eliminate that, we multiply that by how many burgers does that store sell every day, multiply by the number of days in a week, times how many weeks in a month, and then how many months in a days. That's really a huge number of seconds saved, no? So supposed to be you could make more burgers, Diba, there are times that people would not anymore continue buying burgers with you, especially if it takes a long time before it is produced. Although that's just 4 seconds, but if you multiply that into a year, it's really a huge number. No? So even small split of second is really important in motion study. Okay? So that's unnecessary. How much more if it's really going to take like movement? So that's already in the transportation part. Okay? Yeah, those are the examples of unnecessary motions. And it could also be relating to the last part, which is excess processing, meaning to say that process is not anymore necessary. However, you still do that process because you thought it's necessary. Did you get it? Like I had actually a student. So she is an OJT, no? She is an on-the-job trainee in Timex, and then of course we know that Timex is manufacturer of watches. And then what happened is she was able to observe in the warehousing that once the watch heads, no, the head of the watch is actually transferred from the watch head production to the warehouse, they're temporarily stored in a box and they are placed in a bubble wrap. So the bubble wraps are actually um are there. I don't know for what purpose. So I asked her why does she think that she can eliminate that process. So after putting it in the bubble wrap, they actually um unload the bubble wrap once they attach already the strap of the watch. And then I asked her what happens to the bubble wrap. And then she said the bubble wraps are thrown away because it has already a bug or sa English of a bug, um, dust, no? There are already dust in it, mga water sprinkles, I don't know, maybe from the singot and everything. So as much as possible, there should be no dust as much as possible for watches because one dust affects the functionality of the watch. So after putting the bubble wraps, they they eliminate the bubble wraps. So they do unnecessary movement and extra processing. No, because what's the purpose of doing the bubble wrap when in fact you're just gonna throw the bubble wrap and add the strap? No, I thought the wrap is used to attach it again with the watch head and already with the strap, but no, it will already be packaged into their box. So I asked her first, you asked first the team, what's the reason why they're actually requiring to put a bubble wrap in it? Maybe there's a reason, no? I don't believe that there's no reason for it. So there should be a reason why they are actually using a bubble wrap for it. And then she said that the bubble wrap is actually used for protection against scratches in the box because the design of the box is actually kana there's really a possibility for scratch because it's rough. So she said na I see that it's an extra process, ma'am. I can actually eliminate it by designing a jig, no, a fixture where it eliminates the reason why they put bubble wraps by putting a cushion on it, no? So there's a cushion and it's already going to be um it's going to eliminate really the scratch, therefore eliminating the process of adding, no, it takes a lot of time, no? That's just how many seconds and then how many watches per box. Like there are 50 watches in a box, so let's just say that's 2 seconds per each box, no? One, two, you're putting bubble wraps and then another 100 seconds just getting the wraps, diba? Because they have to store it before it is loaded to the lines. So she was able to save a lot, like 1 million, no, for the company. So she saved the company with, of course, the bubble wraps. They don't need anymore to buy that much bubble wraps. She was also able to save, of course, time, no, in producing the item. So as simple as that observation, you can actually eliminate already items. Now, they were amazed with that student because they were not able to see it because that's how it usually is, no? Like if you're already in the company for so long, usually you believe that it's the right process because you've been doing it for a long time. But if there's fresh eyes, usually that's the time you see that there's still things you can improve. So I was really very proud of that student. She was given a certificate because she was able to eliminate that process, and it was already implemented right away. No? And last but not the least is, of course, non-utilized skills. So, as Japanese say, those potential people that could lead the team, if not given opportunities and not utilized, mean to say not provided with skills and training, we're just keeping them. Okay, sorry. You're just keeping them stagnant. So usually what happens is they become they're not maximized. So as Japanese would say, as much as possible, we look into the people within the company first before we hire outsiders. That's what my previous company actually did, no? We actually hired from non-DHL non-DHL companies. We hire actually from the contractors if we see that there's a potential, and then we absorb that personnel. Then what they do is, since most of these contractual employees have no degree, they actually give scholarships for them, and then they let them go to school, no, and they were able to really finish their degrees. And some actually right now that I've known are already managers, operations managers, supervisors. So I'm really amazed, no, that they were able to really maximize this non-utilized skills as a waste. Okay, so is that clear, guys? Do you have further questions before we proceed? Is it clear?
Clear, ma'am.
Clear, ma'am.
All right. So medyo nagid ka pa si sir, no? Sige lang. We will just show him a copy of the ano. Right, where is my PPT? Uy, ako di ang na-eliminate. So the next one now is, let's start off with, okay, before that, let me show again first the PPT I showed last time. Okay. All right, here. So we are now in here. We're done with the MUDA or WASTE. So this is actually lean overview. I think BSM will be discussed tomorrow. So there are a lot of tools and concepts where we can use lean manufacturing, like the pull systems or the JIT, tact time, line balancing, packaging and handling, standard work, so on and so forth. And these are the tools actually, no? And we are just going to discuss 4 out of the many. All right. So let's start off now with the first one. The first one is actually 5S. Are you familiar with 5S? Do you have already an idea what 5S is?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Very
ma'am.
good. So review na lang talaga to, no? Like, you already know these things. We can actually finish early good because these are actually not new to some of you. It's just a review. All right. So these are actually my students' PowerPoint. They're really good at making PowerPoint. No? Like, they're better than us. Okay. So lead Six Sigma 5S concept.
G.
So they actually have a video. Let's watch the video. Can you hear the sound? Wait. Let me share again. So here's a video they also prepared.
Do you ever feel this way? Do you have trouble finding what you're looking for? Imagine if everything had a place and could quickly be found. Wouldn't that make life that much better? Even if you already have a tidy workplace, 5S can help organize and simplify your work life. Let's explore 5S and how it can create a safer, cleaner, and more productive work environment. In the DPO management pillar, 5S is a fundamental block, providing a foundation foundation for all we do. It's more than just a how-to. It's a permanent mindset to help us manage our company in the best way possible. Let's look at each of the 5 S's in detail: sort, set, shine, standardize, and sustain. It's part of human nature to store and gather things just in case. However, at work, this can bog you down. That's why the first step to getting organized is a good sort. To start, remove non-essential items from the workplace. These can be recycled, donated, or relocated to a more appropriate area. Make judgments based on what you use on a day-to-day basis. Step 2 is to set in order all your essential materials. How you set your materials is up to you, but choosing a way to visually organize materials will speed up the searching process. When setting in order, be sure to use labels and assign everything a proper location. After sorting and setting, it's time to shine your environment. Shine is more than an action, it's an attitude. With Shine, you're setting a standard, making it a better workplace for everyone. Always inspect your surroundings for maintenance issues. Make it your routine to clean regularly, rather than waiting for dust to build up. After all, a cleaner work environment is a safer work environment. The 4th S is to standardize your routine, creating common methods for how you 5S. For example, create consistent expectations for sorting, setting, and shining across all 5S zones. Assign responsibilities for each area, and install checklists and one-point lessons to support a maintained 5S. All these earlier steps are wasted energy if we don't pull together to sustain our efforts. Sustain is the most important S, and also the most difficult. Creating habits for 5S in the normal workday, using audit checklists, tracking improvements, and recognizing top 5S efforts lead to a sustained 5S culture. 5S can be used everywhere by everyone. Talk with your team manager about your ideas for 5S.
So, have you heard lang the content? Was the sound, audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think this is obvious, no? Like the 5S is really been done rather by a lot of companies, especially manufacturing ones, or not even manufacturing ones, also even in the service industry. We're already using 5S. Just like in my company before, it was a German company, but we were still able to use 5S, even if it's a Japanese concept. So it has been adapted by a lot of companies already and had been done by a lot as well. So let's just recap. No, let's just very quick recap. 5S is sort, set, shine, standardize, or sustain. In Japanese, we call it there's a Japanese term for it. I cannot memorize. Shitsuke, Seiri, Seiton. Yeah, that one. Seiri, Seiton, um,
Shikitsu.
Shikitsu. Yeah, that's the one I forgot. Shikitsu, Shitsuke.
Shitsuki.
Alo, ano sa man ilang sinuwatan? Wala na, ininsik. So, yeah, that one, Shitsuke. Shitsuke. I don't know how to read it, but I hope it was right. So it originated in Japan, no? Everyone actually knows that because the 5S really means those Japanese words. It was early and mid 20th century, and it was implemented first by Toyota Motor Corporation as part of their TPS system, no? And just to make the just-in-time manufacturing possible. So what does the 5S stand for? We have the sort or Seiri. So there. I think because I was not able to I think download their tawag dito, font. That's why we cannot see the meaning, but that's okay. Basically, sort is removing unnecessary items and the necessary items. So you're just like sorting hot and cold objects. If it's a hot object, meaning to say you're going to need that object all the time, as much as possible, like daily. You put it in an area that is near you, right? So that you don't need to like go to the cabinet and search for it. Instead, if you need it, it will always be there and available. No, I always tell about 5S thing, pero sometimes I don't even apply it in my own life. That's why maintain part or the sustain part is really the hardest. So I'm guilty of that, no? So Seri is the easiest one because it's the first step. If you are able to identify which items are hot and cold and throwable, no, like unnecessary, then you can already start off with your 5S. So you can actually keep it. Then you can actually categorize them in the following ways. You keep them, you move, or mga pang-move items for probation. So meaning to say, case-to-case basis, are you going to throw it or keep it, no? And of course, the total items to be removed. All right. Now, the goal of sorting are the following tips, no? You can do the red tagging. So the red tags are those items you are to keep or throw. It depends on how you categorize it. Then in manufacturing, usually not all does or there is no specific people who will do the 5S. It's always all of you. So if all are involved in doing the 5S, you need to put tags to it so that you can already give information on the you can already give information to the next one on the shift that this is the action to take for this item. So as you can see in the 5S red tag, there's a date, who tagged this, what is the item description, where did you find it, what's the item type, why did you tag this, and then is it for trash, for hold, for move to, for contact, and others. And then all other stuff that you need in the information of your tags. So it's really going to be very there's a cost involved to it because you have to really produce these items. But better than really losing items, no? It's really always good that you organize things. Okay? And then, okay, we cannot really read those things now. Next is the set in order. So the other term for set in order in Japan is seiton. I don't know if it's correctly said, but seiton. So seiton, in a way to easily understand it, is putting place in order and putting everything in place and a place for everything. Yeah, that's the other term, no? You putting a place for everything and everything in its place, or vice versa. So the goal is to really map out, and then as you can see here, if you are a production system, you can really look into the area where yung gibuhat is from the 5S improvement tags, they actually place the tags in the map. No, I think this is the map of their kanang entire layout. So they place there na in the die storage area, there are for improvements, for press B1, for transfer line, and so on and so forth. But it could even actually be as simple as visually organizing the workplace, no? I don't know if they provided example, but just simply putting let's say for example, no, you have a lot of tools like the scissors, the cutters, the bond papers, and all those, and even the specific tools. I don't know really of the name of those tools, but let's just assume that you have tools in the workplace. If you place it in a certain area where these are the areas for the tools alone, whenever a worker looks for that item, they don't need to ask you anymore. They just go to that station, and then they know where it is placed because there's already a marking. Like for example, a hammer, no? For the hammer, there's really a marking of a martillo type there. And then if it's empty there, that means it's an indication to them that somebody else is using it, no? But if it's there, then obviously she or he knows where to put back that item. So I actually was able to observe such set in order type in my faculty immersion in Minibeya Mitsumi. So they're really very organized maybe because they're also Japanese company, no? So they really have to do 5S. So their tools area are really very clean. Like the tools are present there, and there's even a lock, no? Like the team leader is the only one allowed to move the item, and then once they are required to move the item, or they request for that item, or they will borrow that item, they have to log in, no, a record book, so that they know who to trace if ever that item is lost because you were the last one to use it. So That's how organized they are, no? So that's set in order, right? Even a simple wall clock, guys, their wall clock is so amazing. There's even a record there who is the maintenance team who is handling that, and when was the last time it was checked. That's only a clock, huh? So if ever though that clock is not anymore functioning, they will have to contact that person in the picture na there's a need to rearrange already or change the batteries. So that's how organized they are. Like there's no need to really call always the team leader and us and all that. All are already placed in their area. So that's set in order, no? And the third one is, of course, a shine or say so. So once we are already sorting out, we remove things, we kept others, we set those that are kept, we will be having a place for all of them. Next one is shine. So of course, we make sure that items are clean, no, are dust free as much as possible, because it's also part of our maintenance wherein we make sure that these items are functional, no, that they're still functional and there is no oil or dust in it, no. So that's as simple as it can be. Okay, so that's shine. Some actually do the shine by or those people assigned to do the shining or the cleaning part, they even have their housekeeping assignments monitoring. So I believe you can observe this in any malls, no? I don't know if you are from outside of the country, if it's also present. Diba, you can see in the bathrooms na there are actually papers, no, at the back of the door nga was it checked, was it cleaned, no? It's actually handled by the sanitary engineer or maybe the sanitary personnel, no, in the company. And even bathrooms already have that. How much more, no, if you are really in a production setup. So all of these, especially machines, require such monitoring so that you know when's the last time you did your maintenance. Okay. And of course, number 4 is si Kits. Si Satan pala yung nakalimutan ko, no? So, Seri, say so. Oh, Seri, Satan, say so pala. Nakalimutan, say so. And then we have the standardized or si Kits. Si Kitsu or si Kits. I don't know how to read that. But yes, once you are already focused or done rather with the first 3 steps, you have to standardize your processes. You already know that this is where we place everything. We will do maintenance and all this. We will clean. This is our daily monitoring and all that. We standardize them and put them in documentation. So, what are the elements of a 5S agreement? Wala na. You cannot read that. Okay, and last but not the least is sustain. So as mentioned, this is the hardest part. Usually, this is the part where we are checked if we are really committed, no, in making sure that 5S is maintained in the company. So it's Shitski. So the Shitski is basically sustaining, no, making sure that we do the same things all over again every day, every week, every month, and for the rest of the entire daily, for the entire operations time. So we demonstrate, we supervise undertakings, we do periodic check-ins, and then of course make changes as necessary if we found that there are discrepancies, no, in the way we do and maintain things. So this is an example of a 5S audit sheet. Then it's actually an example you can customize, no, based on your own style, because all of us have different ways and different types of businesses. So our 5S is also different. But you can actually venture out and, benchmark rather from examples in the internet, but there's really no standard one for it. But so long as you're able to rate it, you can audit it, it shows you numbers that this is how much you have improved, no, with your 5S, then it's a good sheet, no, that you can use. Okay? Now, what are the different tools that we can use for 5S? We can do the shadow board. So this is what I said, no, like if you have a tools area, you can actually do the shadow board so that workers know where to place such items they have borrowed. Okay? Or you can do the signs, the simplest one, like what I gave as an example a while ago, wherein the wall clock already has an indication who to contact to. That's already using 5S, or we call it visual workplace, no? And what else? Floor markings, no? In this one, we already know that beyond this line, workers or humans are not anymore required because, or not required, but are not anymore um, desired to be walking, no, because it is the place for the forklifts and the like, no. Somehow it's related to safety as well. Okay, in my previous company, since we are a we are a warehouse, obviously we have a lot of forklifts roaming around the warehouse, and we have to wear helmets all the time. So if that's the case, if we walk on the area for forklifts and undergo any, or we will have accidents, it will always be our fault because there are already markings. We were already trained in the safety about it, but we're just not mindful. So actually we have a scenario about that in my previous company. So in my previous company, Kai, there was a worker na he was talking to a forklift operator, and the forklift operator is in his forklift. And then I don't know what were they talking about. I was in the corner, actually piling up and checking other ways to improve things. And then what happened, guy, as they were talking, the forklift operator said na sige na, balik trabaho na tayo, ganon, ganyan. And then when that happened, he accidentally pushed the forward instead of backward. So instead of reverse, it was actually accelerate. No, the steering wheel, not steering wheel, the gear rather was on forward rather than reverse. So sad to say, even though that worker was wearing steel toe, his not thumbs, his four fingers, no, fingers, not fingers, kanang toes rather, no? Four parts of the toes, no, in the foot actually were damaged good, like purely damaged, like flat. And then when we investigated, since we are the management trainees of that one, we are also slash safety officers. When we checked where was he was standing in the forklift area. However, he might have a fault on that. Still, the forklift operator is still to be reprimanded as well because he was talking to someone while doing the operations. Usually, if you are maneuvering a forklift, you are not required to talk to anybody. You have to really focus on roaming around the forklift, no? Because anytime you can create damage or worse, cause accidents. So that was really their fault. If you really want to talk to your coworker, you really have to stop the entire machine and go down. But that time, he just put that on hold and then automatically pushed forward, and then the worker was in the front. So it was really damage of the entire foot. Now, as to what happened to that worker, I was not able to know anymore because I was already transferred back here na sa I was transferred, or I was transferred to another one na because it really took him a lot of time in the hospital. So that's how one simple marking, no, not followed, could lead to a lot of changes, no, in one's life. So we have to, as much as possible, make sure that we follow, all right, we follow instructions. And then labeling, so simple labeling of your Kanban bins. So this one is how hex washers. So if you label that right, then of course it will eliminate chances of being wrong, especially for newbies, no, for new entries in the business that they don't know what that hex washers look like. So they have to really be labeled well. Okay? Then we can also do industrial printers and of course red tags. Yeah, so I think that's it for 5S. Do you have questions? So I'm sure you're doing already 5S, no, in your business. It's really not that new anymore. Do you have questions?
Wala ra, ma'am.
Wala, ma'am.
All right. So let's